All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at something totally wild today, from the bleeding edge of robotics and AI. We're going to unpack exactly how researchers are tackling what might be the single biggest challenge in tech right now, building a true general-purpose robot. And we'll be doing that by looking at a major breakthrough model called Pi Zero.
Here's how we're breaking it down today. First, the grand vision for generalist robots. Then we'll get into the actual nuts and bolts of the Pi0 architecture, tackle this massive headache called the gradient problem, and wrap up with the whole academia versus industry debate. Starting things off with part one, the generalist robot vision, and how we're finally moving beyond this single-task machine. Historically, robotics has been, well, agonizingly purpose-built. As researcher Chelsea Finn points out, if you want a robot for logistics, you literally have to build a logistics robotics company. Want a surgical robot? Boom, surgical robotics company. You are essentially starting from absolute scratch every single time. Think about it. Building a robot just to fold laundry or assemble cars? It's a massive bottleneck. You're designing custom hardware, writing new software from the ground up, and engineering unique movement primitives for every little thing. And even after all that, the second this robot hits a messy, unpredictable edge case in the real world, it completely falls apart.
So what's the fix? A generalist foundation model. Think about how massive language models totally change the game for text. Researchers want to do exactly that, but for physical space. We're talking about a single, highly intelligent brain that you can just plug into different robotic bodies to do practically anything, anywhere.
Which brings us to part two, the Pi0 model architecture. Let's look inside this physical intelligence brain. Okay, so how does a model actually turn an image and a text prompt into fluid physical movement? It starts with a pre-trained vision language model, a VLM, acting as its backbone. This is essentially the robot's eyes and ears. It processes what the cameras see alongside the text commands you give it. Then, the model outputs what are called tokenized actions, before a specialized diffusion head translates all of that into a continuous chunk of 50 physical action steps. That's roughly 1 second of real-world movement, predicted all at once. Now here is the absolute game changer. By tokenizing actions, treating physical movements as a vocabulary of tokens, researchers can use the exact same transformer architectures and scaling laws that supercharged LLMs. They aren't treating robot joints as some totally separate, isolated math problem anymore. They're turning physics into language. But what happens when your brilliant digital brain suddenly decides to completely ignore you? Yeah, despite this beautiful architectural pipeline, the team hit a massive, super frustrating wall during testing. That brings us to part three, fixing the gradient problem. Or, as I like to call it, dealing with the noisy neighbor in the neural network. Imagine this. The researchers would clearly instruct the robot, hey, pick up the cutting board. And the robot would just grab a plate instead. It completely ignored the command. It was like all that incredible, pre-trained language knowledge baked into the backbone model just totally vanished the second it tried to move. To understand the fix here, we gotta talk about gradient flow. Simply put, this is how a neural network learns. When a model makes a mistake, it sends an update signal, a gradient, backwards through its layers to adjust its internal weights. It's how it corrects itself over time. And here was the culprit. That diffusion head we mentioned, the part predicting the physical actions, starts off with random, totally untrained weights. As it learns and updates, it's firing these wild, chaotic gradient signals backward into the highly refined vision language model. It was acting like a noisy neighbor, actively corrupting and deteriorating the VLM's ability to understand language. So, how did they solve it? First, predicting those tokenized actions gave the model a much cleaner, direct supervision signal to learn from. But the real magic? They explicitly stopped the gradient from the diffusion head. They built a mathematical soundproof wall. The diffusion head is still allowed to learn how to move, but it is mathematically blocked from sending its chaotic updates back into the language center. And you just have to look at the numbers here. Before stopping the gradients, the robot successfully followed instructions a dismal 20% of the time. After stopping them, boom, 80%. Once that mathematical wall was up, the VLM kept all its inherent smarts. It knew exactly what a cutting board was again. The coolest part is that this elegant fix didn't just solve the instruction problem, it literally sped up the entire training process. Because the model wasn't constantly wasting energy unlearning and relearning its basic language skills, it could just focus entirely on mastering physical movement. All right, let's zoom out for part four, academia versus industry, and the broader ecosystem of robotics research. It raises a fascinating dynamic, right? When we talk about foundation models, we normally picture massive tech companies with endless server farms. Does building physical AI require that trillion-dollar industry scale? Or can resource-constrained academic labs actually still compete?
It's really a classic trade-off. Industry obviously has the massive data and compute scale you need for these foundation models. But academia's constraints, they actually breed highly efficient algorithms. When you're in a university lab and you don't have infinite computing power, you are forced to make sure your math is absolutely airtight before you run a test. Industry can brute force things, sure, but they risk throwing expensive compute at unoptimized code.
Because, let's be real, more compute isn't always a silver bullet. Sometimes having infinite resources makes you a little sloppy. Being backed into a corner by a lack of resources is often exactly what produces a stroke of architectural genius. Like realizing you don't need 10,000 more hours of training, you just need to stop a gradient flow.
Moving forward, building generalist robots is going to require both sides. We absolutely need the careful, critical algorithm design from academia, and we need the massive data pipelines from industry. And speaking of data, while we're using LLMs to create synthetic data and scale up human prompts, there is still no pure replacement for real-world robot data. We need robots out in the messy real world failing and learning. Bringing it all together in our conclusion, the physical intelligence frontier. We've covered a ton of ground today, but it leaves us with one thrilling question to think about. If just stopping a simple mathematical gradient unlocks an 80% leap in performance today, what seemingly small, hidden tweak is going to let robots totally master our open physical world tomorrow? We are watching the first steps of AI actually leaving the digital realm. Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and definitely keep an eye out. Things are moving fast.